Hi guys, welcome to my channel. It's me, Ada. In today's video I'm going to show you guys how to make a princess cut half circle dress with puffy sleeves. Yeah, I'm going to teach you guys how I made that dress. I think I have tried as much as possible to simplify this video. So yeah, please do like and share my videos if you find them useful, and please do subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it if you subscribe. And that's all guys for now, so let's just get into the video and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. So for the top part of this dress, I am just going to take down some measurements on the fabric that I have cut out. And this fabric, I cut it out using the largest part of my upper part, which is my bust, to determine the amount of fabric I should cut out. And then I also added some allowance. So now I'm marking 11 inches on the fabric. That is my shoulder to bust measurement, and I'm just going all through to mark that 11 inches, and then I've used my ruler to join those points together for that bust line. Then after that, the next measurement is my shoulder to waist measurement. My shoulder to waist is 18 inches, so I'm just going to mark that 18-inch point as well and use my ruler to join the line. So as you can see, I went in all through the fabric to make that 18-inch point mark, and then I use my ruler to join it. So after making the waistline, I went ahead to add seam allowance. So I added seam allowance of about 3 inches, just because I wanted to be safe and I didn't want to make any mistakes, but I still removed some part of it later. But yeah, that's what I did for the time being. Then I also measured my shoulder to under bust measurement. So my shoulder to under bust, or basically upper waist, I don't know what to call it, under bust but the waist higher. So shoulder to under bust was 16 inches, and then I also used my ruler to make that line more visible as well. So after creating the shoulder to under bust line, I went ahead to measure 4.5 inches. 4.5 inches on the line, that is on the bust line, also on the under bust line and on the waistline, just throughout, just all through the fabric downwards from the bust line. I measured 4.5 inches, and that is my bust distance. Yeah, so the bust distance divided by 2 is what I actually measured as 4.5 inches. So I used my ruler to just join those points together, creating a straight line through those lines. So then after making that line, I measured my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 16 inches. 16 divided by 2 gives us 8, so I marked 8 inches for my shoulder measurement. So after marking the shoulder measurement, the next measurement was my neck width. Now my neck width, I decided to use 6 inches because I wanted it to be really wide, almost look like an off shoulder but not really an off shoulder, so I made it 6 inches. And then I also made my neck depth to be 6 inches as well. I switched to a pink chalk because I thought it was going to be clearer, but I guess I was wrong, so I still changed back to using white. So I used my ruler to join those 2 points, that's the neck width and the neck depth, together. I just created like a square like shape because I wanted the neck to be a bit square-ish in nature. I still added a little curve to it later on when I was cutting, but I just drew a straight line just to indicate the way I want it to be, basically. So after making my neck measurement, the next measurement I focused on was my armhole measurement. So to create my armhole, I came down by 1 inch first from that shoulder point that I made. I came down by 1 inch, and then I drew a straight line to join that new 1 inch point that I made to my shoulder width, to my neck width measurement where it ended. So after doing that, I then drew a straight line. I drew a straight line to join those 2 points. Then I also drew a straight line to indicate my armhole measurement. So for my armhole measurement, I use 9 inches as my armhole, and that can also be your shoulder to upper bust measurement. So but 9 inches like mostly the standard for an adult, anyways, like me, I guess. So I drew a straight line to join those points, and I drew a straight line to join to indicate the armhole line. Now on the under bust line, right under bust distance line, we're going to mark 1.5 inches on both sides of that line, on both sides of the line. So we're going to mark 1.5 inches, and then still on that bust distance line, right under our bust line, we are going to mark 1 inch. And then also on that line, that bust distance line, we're going to mark 1 inch as well above the bust line. So after marking 1 inch above the bust line, we're just going to join the points. So we're going to join that one below the bust line. We're going to join into that 1.5 inch point on the sides of those on the two sides of the bust distance line. So we're going to use our ruler to join it like a triangular form, and then on our on the last line, which is actually for similar ones that I created, we're just going to mark 1 inch on both sides of that line as well, on both sides of the bust distance line, and then we're going to draw a line from that 1.5 inch downwards to the end of our fabric. So after joining that line, the next thing we are going to do is to create our princess cut. To do that, I'm going to mark 5 inches from the shoulder point, that's that on my armhole line. I'm going to mark 5 inches downwards from my shoulder point, and then after doing that, we're going to also draw a straight line from that 1 inch point that I made above my bust line. On that bust distance line, we're going to draw a straight line from that 5 inch point that we made to that 1 inch point, as you can see. And then after we have drawn that straight line, I'm just going to mark half an inch on both sides of that 5 inch point that I made on my armhole line. So I'm going to draw half an inch on both sides of that that point, and then I'm going to use my ruler to also join that half an inch point to my to that 1 inch point that I made above my bust line. So that 1 inch point is kind of close to my upper bust line, basically. So I'm going to draw a straight line from both sides of that half an inch point, to that 1 inch point. And then our outline is pretty much basically almost ready. So the next thing we are now going to do is to draw one 1.5 inches outwards from that 5-inch point, just to extend the basically to extend the fabric of the clothes, so that the fabric will be enough at the end of the day when you do cut out. So after extending that, we're just going to go ahead and mark out our circumference measurement. So for our circumference measurement, we're just going to enter our bust measurement plus seam allowance. So I added 2-inch seam allowance basically. So bust measurement plus 2-inch seam allowance, and upper bust measurement plus 2-inch seam allowance as well. Then we also entered our on that line for the under bust. We also entered the circumference, that is under bust circumference, plus 3 inches that you removed for the dart that you were creating, the fabric that you removed by drawing that dart. You're going to add it back, so that's 3 inches, then plus your seam allowance, 2 inches seam allowance as well. Then for the on the waistline, we're also going to do the same thing. We're going to put our waist measurement, then also add that 3-inch allowance that you removed before, and then also add your seam allowance. So on the last line as well, we're just going to do the same thing all through. Just don't forget to add that 3 inches back. On the last line, remember we removed 2 inches, not 3 inches, so add your 2 inches back, and then add your seam allowance as well. So my fabric, I kind of run out of fabric, so basically I drew a straight line just at the edge of my. So after drawing that straight line, I went out to cut all my pieces out. So as you can see, you have 3 parts like this. So for the back, I have left 1 inch for zipper allowance. So I marked 8 inch, marking 8 inch for my shoulder, and then 9 inch downwards for my armhole length. So I'm going to just use a ruler to draw a straight line to indicate that armhole length properly. And then I'm also going to use a ruler to draw a straight line from that armhole length, from my shoulder point, to the armhole line. So then I'm going to go in and mark 1 inch downwards from that shoulder line point. Just mark 1 inch downwards, and then from that 1 inch I'm going to plot my remaining measurements. So my shoulder to under bust measurement, which is 16 inches, I've marked that point. My shoulder to bust measurement, which is 11 inches, I also marked that point. And my shoulder to waist measurement, which is 18 inches, I also marked that point. Please do remember to add seam allowance also. So after the 18 inches, you can put in the number of inches you want for your seam allowance. Like I did in the front, I made it 3 inches seam allowance, just to avoid any mistakes and anything. So yeah, then I use my ruler to draw those, to elaborate those points. Just join the points together and make a straight line, because we're still going to plot our circumference measurements or our round measurements on those lines that we have created. So I also went in to put my circumference measurements, that is my round chest or my round upper bust, my full bust measurement, and my waist waist measurement, and my under bust measurement. So these measurements, remember, you are dividing it by 4. Yeah, you divide the measurements you get by 4. I also added seam allowance. I added 2-inch seam allowance to every single measurement that I plotted here. So please do add seam allowance to avoid mistakes. So yeah, after marking all my points, I'm just going to use a ruler to join the points together. Oh, I also decided to make a dart for the back part because a dart is better for the back. So to make that dart, I found the midpoint on my under bust measurement, and then I also marked 1/2 inch on both sides of that midpoint, just as you can see. And then after marking those points, I used my ruler to draw a straight line from the middle, or from that midpoint, to my bust measurement, my full bust. Then I also drew a line to meet those that 1/2 inch points that I made by the two sides, and then I drew those lines down to the end of my fabric. So this is a dart that we are creating, and the dart looks basically just like this. So on my shoulder, for my armhole, sorry, I marked 3 inches on that armhole line upwards. I marked 3 inches upwards, and I just created a curve with my free hand for the back armhole. Remember, the back armhole is not that curved, so I just made an easy curve, and then also extended that curve to the shoulder point, just like you can see here. Yeah, so then I just went in with my ruler to join all the points together, all the points that I had marked for my full bust and waist measurements and the rest. So after joining those points together, the next thing I had to do was to make my neck for the back as well, and the back neck is actually the same. I didn't make it different. I wanted it to be the same with the front, so I just decided to trace to duplicate what I had done on the front on the back. I didn't want to start drawing a new outline. I just wanted to cut out replicate it on the back. So I placed the front one that I cut out on the back piece, and I placed it. I just had to adjust it a bit, go in and place it properly to avoid the mistakes, because I was really on the verge of making a mistake. So as you can see, I placed it on the line that I made for my back, my zipper. That is the line where I actually placed it before I cut. If I went ahead to cut. So after placing it on that line, I just used my scissors to cut out my neckline, and as you can see, the neck isn't as square as I made it when I was drawing just 2 blunt lines for the neck. It's actually a bit curved by the sides. I don't know how to explain it, but you can see what I mean. It's actually a bit curved. So yeah, that's how I made the back bodice. So when I cut out my back bodice, this is what it looks like. I also cut out the lining for it. So as you can see, it's on the lining. I'm using black lining for it, and then you just go ahead and sew at the end. So for the skirt, I had to come down to the floor because my table was like looking a bit small. So I folded my fabric in 4, just like you can see. I folded it in 2 first, and then folded it kind of like in a triangular motion. So for the skirt part, my table was quite small, so I decided to just move to the floor. So for the skirt part, I measured 5 inches. Yeah, I measured 5 inches from the top, and to get this 5 inches, you just simply divide the waist measurement. My waist measurement, when I went back to my fabric and measured, was 19 inches. So I just divided 19 by 4, and I got about 4 point something. So I just started to make it 5 inches. So that's how I got 5 inches. And then I marked that 5 inches. Then from that point, that 5-inch line, you just mark the rest of the length of the skirt. So I'm using 30 inches as my length for the skirt part. So I just marked 30 inches all through the fabric. As you can see, I just marked the 30 inches. So yeah, I went in to just make sure that that line is clear because I wasn't sure that my viewers could actually see what I was doing. So yeah, I made sure the line was clear, and then after that I just went in with my scissors to cut out or cut on the line. You just cut on that 30-inch curve and on the 5-inch line as well. So as you can see, I'm done cutting. I have two panels for the front and back of the skirt, and I opened it up. That is why it's looking like this. So we're just going to go and join it to the top part of the dress. So I have joined the front. This is the back part. As you can see, the zipper part is still open, and I just used my scissors to cut the down part of the skirt a bit for the zipper because I wanted it to be a bit longer than just the up part. To make this sleeve, I am using about 16 inches in length of fabric, and I've cut it out in kind of like a rectangular shape. It depends on how big you want your sleeve to be or what you want your sleeve to look like. So this is what I am using for my own sleeve. So I'm just going to mark 9 inches downwards from the top of that sleeve of the fabric. I'm just going to mark 9 inches. So after marking that 9-inch point, I'm just going to draw a curve, just the way you make your sleeve curve. Just draw a nice curve down to that 9-inch point, just like I have done. So I just went in to kind of make the curve more curved. I really know what I was doing, but anyways, yeah, just make that curve. I felt it wasn't that clear, so I just kept going back and forth. So yeah, after getting to that 9-inch point, I also used my ruler to draw a straight line to the end of the fabric I'm using for the sleeve. I wanted the sleeve to be a bit puffy, not to be like tight or anything. So that's why I did this for my sleeve. So after making that curve, just use my scissors to cut out, and basically my sleeve was ready. So you then go ahead and duplicate this sleeve on your new on second sleeve. For your second sleeve, just duplicate it, or you cut them both together, whichever one you want, basically. So guys, this is what my sleeve looks like. Now my sleeve has a band at the end. So to make that band, I don't know the official name for the band, but yeah, a band. So to make the band, I just when folded, the fabric I'm using is 7 inches in width and in length. So you just open that up and just sew all the sides, sew them together, and then you sew the edges together for the band. Then you join it to the main sleeve. So guys, for my sleeve, to make it like gathered or puffy, I had to use the running stitch on my sewing machine. I put it on 5. That's the highest the biggest stitch I had, and I just used it to sew a straight line, or a line, sorry. I just sewed it throughout the curve of the sleeve and also at the base of the sleeve, just to create gathers. So when you are done, when you have made those stitches, you just pull one of the threads from the stitch, just like I am doing, and as you are pulling it, you see that gathers will just be forming. So I did that for the top of the sleeve, and then now that my gathers are formed, I'm just going to sew the edge of the sleeve together, and then we'll also pull the gathers for the down part of the sleeve as well, you know, just to create the look that we are going for, basically. So this is the finished dress, guys. Thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.